Hello there YouTube, Eric McRae, Asparagus Party here, and today I'm doing another video pertaining to One Piece. Now this is quite late in respect to the time this chapter was released, but something that came up in my mind that I kind of wanted to talk about was the powers and abilities of Blackbeard's crew members, since when they appeared in chapter, I think it's 1063, and onward, 1064, fighting with Trafalgar Law, we definitely noticed that they got some abilities we hadn't heard about before. And I think this is something worthy of some consideration and analysis, and maybe a bit of speculation and conjecture on the topic. So starting in One Piece chapter 1063 and One Piece chapter 1064, the battle between Trafalgar Law's Heart Pirates and the Blackbeard Pirates commences, and the first one making an appearance with a new devil fruit in this combat scenario is none other than Doc Q. So we can see he's equipped himself with the Sick fruit, which is apparently giving him the ability to produce at least one type of contagion, and I'd assume possibly more. I'm operating with the thought that this is one variant, and this particular variant tampers with the hormones of his targets, thus causing Trafalgar Law's crew to transform into the opposite gender. And Ichiro Oda took advantage of this situation to introduce just how effectual Haki is in the battle against devil fruit powers, Trafalgar Law being able to actually reverse the effect. So this is definitely an intriguing engagement, and it gives Doc Q a lot of potential versatility for a combat scenario based on what he can do with this fruit ability. We need more information on Doc Q to really judge how much of a threat he is, and I'm assuming we're going to get that in following chapters where Blackbeard appears as an antagonist. I admit I am increasingly wondering about the implications for Haki with regards to the relevancy of the one component of the Yami Yami no Mi. If you remember, when Blackbeard was introduced, he hyped up the Yami Yami no Mi, and one of the focal points he emphasized was its ability to counter devil fruit abilities in combat. And I'm starting to have questions. At the time when Oda wrote that, was he kind of privy to his own plans for Haki and their nullifying effects and the extent of those effects in the future? Because it does almost make that one aspect of it seem not that important, unless you had a question like, okay, is Blackbeard subject to some kind of handicap or some kind of inability to use Haki to the level of others? Like, why would he be excited about an ability like this when all he had to do was really just train his Haki, it would seem? Now obviously I know that there's more to the fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi, than that. The ability to extract the fruits out of others makes it as gold as it could get in terms of value in the One Piece world. However, it does raise questions again. Why hype that part of it? Is there something that Blackbeard's hiding that makes the Yami Yami no Mi's fruit-canceling powers in combat superior or some way different from Haki, and maybe a better option or alternative, or perhaps giving somebody who has the ability to do both an advantage in fighting other devil fruit users compared to the classical person who only has the Haki nullification? Now, the next one is Van Augur, and even though his panels are in some senses smaller than Jesus Burgess's here, I don't think his fruit is any less intimidating. It's introduced as the Warp fruit, and from what we can gather, there's certainly instantaneous transportation involved. And now, not only can Van Augur transport himself, but he can transport others with him, including crew members, and I'm going to assume enemies, and it raises some questions. So something I think you want to keep in mind when you read a name like Warp fruit, you have to consider, for the visualization of it, what type of warping are we dealing with here? Now, maybe the panels are self-explanatory, but in case they maybe don't show the whole story, theoretically you could have a variant of a fruit ability like this that is more portal based. And that, to me, I think would be the most dangerous implication, would be a portal version of this fruit if this isn't using portals itself, because if you would remember from the video game Eternal Darkness, the usage of portal abilities by Ulioth in that game, using them as a means of cutting off limbs from opponents, transporting beam attacks back at their opponents. An ability like that is absolutely horrifying, and it still offers you the potential benefits of instantaneous or near instantaneous movement, as long as you're quick enough to make a portal, understand how to move it, close it, and transfer through to the new location. However, this warping might be more similar, from what I can tell of the panels, to something like Obito's ability in Naruto, only be it more of an instantaneous transportation kind of technique. Either way, this fruit is very dangerous, I'd say, because thinking of it, Van Alger's a sniper. This is the perfect fit for him, because when you're a sniper and your position's revealed, that is where the danger is. But now Van Alger can teleport to any hiding place he wants, and he can constantly basically shuffle his position like shuffling a deck of cards. It definitely increases the efficacy of his role as sniper. There's been other posts about this on forums like the Worst Gen forums. I read one about suggesting that in a close kind of CQC situation, if he cocks and loads his gun, he could teleport to the air above his opponent and just snipe them directly in the head. So there's so much utility here. But there's questions you have to ask. So what are the limitations for transporting others? And can you do it to enemies, or is there some way that the Devil Fruit, sort of having a mind of its own, will only let you do this to your allies? We're definitely going to have to see more from this and have more confirmation on the thought, because if you can teleport others, then is the limitation that you have to teleport with them, similar to Goku's instant transmission? You have to have your hand on them. Or can you teleport them and then they independently go wherever you want them to go within the parameters of what the ability's limitations are? Notwithstanding the question of then what kind of limitations in that one aspect of it exist. So for example, I'd be curious, can Van Alger theoretically lay his hand on Trafalgar Law, teleport him into the seawater, and then he basically sinks like a rock? That's something I'd want to know. What are the limitations imposed on this ability? Because it seems very dangerous. So next is Jesus Burgess, and as you can see, he has the buff fruit. And this is definitely intimidating in its own right, because he's lifting a mountain here, and for the implication towards a naval battle here is pretty massive. If you remember what Garp was doing when Luffy was retreating, I don't remember if that was a manga scene or an anime only scene, but this idea of chucking giant cannonballs. Now Burgess can sink ships by chucking mountains at them. So all you have to do if you're Blackbeard is have Van Alger transport Jesus Burgess to a nearby island with some big mountains, and now you have a Burgess cannon to fire at their ships. Very interesting. Since it's really categorized as a strength feat, what we're seeing here, this means it's obviously going to affect his punches, his famous elbow technique, his suplexes, and probably anything he's doing. So we definitely need more exposure on this. And we'd have some questions. Is it sort of applying this in a very kind of magical sense in coordination with, the concept of devil fruits and divine entities, or is it kind of doing it in more sort of science-y kind of glazed over approach where it's really changing his muscle density and things like that? Because if it's affecting his muscle density and his muscle fibers, theoretically it can also kind of make him have sort of a bodily armor just by tightening his muscles, something very similar to Tekai, but either more of a devil fruit based version of it, and potentially you could do that as a passive ability or an active ability, or have both and have certain multiplication factors tied to something like that, as well as using it for sort of a muscle hardening technique to sort of complement with your usage of hockey as well independently. So this is a cool potential with this fruit, and we definitely want to see more of Burgess so we can know just what are the limitations here as well. Stronger at this point appears to play the role more of a locomotion aid than a combatant. We don't have enough panels of Stronger doing anything to really get a sense of battle use here. Hello there, Eric McRae here, Asparagus Party. Just want to share a friendly reminder that if you enjoy the content I'm producing, it's very helpful for me if you would like the videos and subscribe to my channel, and also that if you're willing or interested in donating to help my channel growth, I do have a donor box page and a link in every video description. With that said, let's get into the video. Thank you very much for your time.